Atlus used to be a machine, publishing a head-spinning number of games. They dominated on platforms like the DS and PSP, which were enormously popular in the Japanese market. Back in 2009 and 2010, there were a slew of releases: Devil Survivor, a Persona port to PSP, SMT Strange Journey, P3 Portable, Etrian Odyssey 3, Radiant Historia, and more. By comparison, the 2020s have seen a much slower release cadence. Some notable games, no doubt. The last 5 years have been very lucrative for the company. SMT 5, the controversial Soul Hackers 2, Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 3 Reload, SMT 5 Vengeance, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore, and most significantly, Metaphor Refantazio last year. We'll talk more about that game later. But what I want to highlight here is that while Atlus has always brought forward old games onto new platforms, of the 14 or so games this decade they've announced to be published, or have already, half are remasters or remakes. Another 3 of these are Persona 5 spin-offs. That leaves us with only 4 truly original products. But just one is a new IP, Metaphor Refantazio. This look at the company's product portfolio tells us something about how they're doing business, and I think there are both good and bad aspects about it. There's a cynical explanation for this. Since the Sega acquisition in 2013, Atlus has been put on a leash by their corporate overlord. You will make Persona/SMT and other adjacent games until the blood has been completely extracted from the stone. Yeah, I don't think that's what's going on here. My genuine belief is that Sega has helped to guide their creative output to a virtuous cycle that's good for both fans and developer stability. Another adjacent example of this is Sega Studio RGG, or Ryuga Gotoku. They have been thriving with consistent releases of Like a Dragon games, as well as other new products like Virtua Fighter upcoming. It's good to see that series come back. So I don't think this is a problem where the corporate overlord is crippling their output. I'm sure there is some tension that's only natural. So if it's not that, what's going on at Atlus exactly? How did the people that gave us Persona 3 in 2006 and Persona 4 in 2008 slow down towards nearing the 10th anniversary of Persona 5, and we've primarily seen remakes and spin-offs since? Well, this all goes back to the founding of Studio Zero. If you're not familiar, back in 2016 following the release of Persona 5, the director of P Studio, Katsura Hashino, decided to part ways with the series. He had a new vision for a creative product at Atlus, and the company granted him a new studio. In his own words, he mentioned that he felt Persona 5 demonstrated a change to the franchise, and he was ready to move on. I'm reminded of his statements in recent years on how he handles fan response, and how it impacts him personally. In 2024, in a discussion published by Japanese outlet Famitsu, he mentioned that while it's valued, he distances himself from constantly sucking up online feedback. He specifically stated that looking at too many disparate reactions probably isn't good for your mental health as a creative. I can totally see that. But I link these comments to other statements Hashino-san made back in 2016, following Persona 5's release to an outlet called 4Gamer. He mentioned at the time that not only was the development of Persona 5 challenging due to financial issues, which I made a video about earlier this year you can check out in the description, but the rising fan expectations were a lot, and led to a crushing pressure for the development team. He specifically mentioned how in his 20-year development career to that point, this game was a really difficult time, which seems obvious due to the delays it experienced. All I'm really getting at here is that while Persona 5 was a breakout hit for the company, it was also immensely challenging and changed Atlus. It is the most visible game they've ever made by far, and it's long since become oversaturated in the discourse. But we can't talk about Atlus as a company without that game. Its release and the aftermath changed them forever. The result is a total reinvention of who they are as a company. Studio Zero and Metaphor Refantazio emblemize this transformation. They symbolize the redefinition of the company. It's a huge risk to create a new IP after something like Persona 5, and it paid off. The game sold 1 million copies on day one. That's massive. But it came at a big price, both creatively and financially. It also took 8 long years to launch. Why? Opening up a new studio with the caliber of talent to make such a massive game is like opening a brand new medium-sized company in some sense. You have to fill out leadership layers, hire new personnel, establish a vision and creative culture. They didn't just copy and paste their prior success, it was a total rebuild into something new. An explicit statement behind the purpose of the new studio was to aim higher than anything Atlus did to date. It wasn't simply, "Sick, Hashino-san's got a new studio, a game must be coming soon." There were some hoops to jump through, no doubt, but making a game is hard as hell, especially with such a big game as Metaphor. One part of the build-out process for this new studio was they needed a testbed, and Catherine once again served as a vehicle to get things moving. The 2019 full-body version of the game was a way to iron out their workflow and get the machine running right before they got into full-blown production, one imagines. So Studio Zero's emergence is a big reason behind the changes in release cadence at Atlus. But as I also stated, we're coming up on 10 years since Persona 5. Hashino has been at Atlus for 30 years, but nearly a third of his time at the company has been absorbed by one project, Metaphor. That cannot happen again, it's not sustainable. So I hope the pipeline becomes much more efficient in the future. And what about P Studio, the team working on Persona 6? Well, not to make excuses for these guys, but I imagine it's been immensely difficult to fill the void of former longtime team members moving on after Persona 5. The expectations for Persona 6 are out of this fucking world. How do you follow up what many consider to be the best JRPG of all time? One way to address this is to go back to the well. Remake Persona 3 and Persona 4. Do a royal version of Persona 5. Another key aspect is that you want to get the best games modernized and available to new audiences, not stuck in their dated format from almost 20 years ago. I was an early adopter of the PSP in 2005. I love that machine. But if I want to go play Persona 3, I want to play Reload now, not the dated portable version. I understand the mentality Atlus has. Before we get Persona 6 out there, let's get everything major in our catalog straightened out first and in an appetizing format. It's just good business. It keeps the lights on and the bills paid in the meantime. We should still expect Persona 6 to knock our socks off though. So that's why I made this video, not to cut these guys slack or give them a pass for a period in which their creative output has been somewhat mixed. I have some concerns about their products too. Are they bloated? Do they need to be as big as they are? Is 80 plus hours for an Atlus experience too much? Can we edit it down to 50? I think SMT5 was actually pretty good in that regard, a smoother 55 to 60 hour run in my case. But in general, I see this as a time of reinvention of the company. I think it's a lesser told story and I wanted to tell it. So let me know what you guys think down below. Is this a period of redefinition or is it more grim? Are the wheels coming off? Well, anyways guys, thanks for watching and I hope to see you on the next video.